All right, Ryan Garcia, big news. The reason we said we weren't going to do a show this week, but these are fun topics, and we figured we'd get in here and do it. And this came over this weekend. I was a little shocked by this. Ryan Garcia will forego a tune-up. He was supposed to fight Mercito Gesta. Chris, you're shaking your head. You actually texted me and said, "Let's tackle this issue." Um, Go ahead. What do you think about this? Is a good idea, a bad idea? And then I'll give you my thoughts.
Terrible idea. This you need to be busy. He has been very inactive in recent years. He's going into what will be the biggest fight of his career by a long shot. Gervonta Davis is a short guy, but a tall mountain to climb. It's a huge fight for Ryan Garcia. For him not to be sharp and primed. Listen, activity matters. When you are active and you feel good and you're confident and you got training camps, not to mention he has to make 136 again. He hasn't been that low in what? Dan, you're the numbers guy, 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like 18 months, something
His
like
last
that.
two fights have been at 140 for Ryan Garcia.
Correct. So and that was I think honestly the third fight was 2 years ago. So making 136 while being inactive, it's not much harder. It's easier to make weight for a lower weight class if you fight in between. Going through that fight week, going through that process of being able to bring yourself down, doing it drastically in one cut is much harder than it is in doing it over two fights. If he fought this fight at 39 or 38 and this next one at 36, it'd be a lot easier for him to whittle his body down. Ryan's a big guy. He's tall, he's long. Making 136 is not going to be easy. Worrying about weight while worrying about the toughest fight in your career, very difficult task.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of why he did this. He'll give quotes. I'm done fucking around. I'm going right after Tank. Could have been fighting anybody and making a decent amount of money and win and keep the hype going. But for me, it's truly about greatness. I worked so hard to get to this point, fought everybody my whole life. I promoted myself really well. I've done everything I could to get to this point where I can make a mega fight happen. Those are quotes. Those are fine. But I'm trying to look past the quotes. I'm trying to figure out why he would do such a thing. Maybe he just, yeah, like you said, doesn't want to go through with another tune-up type of fight. Gesta is a former title challenger. He would probably, get knocked out under 8 rounds, similar to Fortuna. Then I think about, like, is he just trying to make it one less barrier for this fight happening? Because when it first came out that they were going to fight April 16th and there was going to be a tune-up, there was some blowback from boxing fans, was blowback from media. Why? This is, someone can get cut, someone can lose. This could blow up in boxing's face. It's happened so many times in the past. So maybe from that standpoint, maybe from, this is a guy that's been accused of not being fully committed to the sport. This is his chance to make a ton of money, probably 10, 15 million to fight Tank. And why risk, going in the ring with Gesta, getting hurt, getting dropped, losing, all the above. From that standpoint, I kind of like it. I don't think it will help him win. I think obviously getting in the ring and being active and just continuing to fight will ultimately help him beat Tank Davis. But if it's one less barrier we have to worry about getting this big fight, then it's the silver lining in all this, in my opinion.
Yeah, but the greats all did this. They would fight on the same card on the same night, so you get people excited. You're seeing the fighters prime. They're ready. They're fighting often. You get to see what they have going into the fight. It helps with the odds when it comes to who's going to win based on what their last performance was. Because in boxing, the only thing that matters is what have you done for us lately. And Ryan hasn't done much lately. So for him not to take a step aside on this, I mean, Tank's fighting a tough guy. He's taking a real fight. He's the one. He's putting this fight in danger. But listen, this is boxing, man. Everything's a fight. Anything can happen. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking to the greats of old who would build a fight, and they would do that by fighting other guys, fighting contenders, and getting yourselves up to the top.
Yeah, I mean, Tank should be commended for taking on the other Garcia, the 130 pounder that's moving up, and there's no doubt who has already had a better resume heading into this fight. It's Tank Davis. There's no doubt who has sharper. That's Tank Davis. So I mean, Ryan Garcia is maybe putting himself into a little bit of a hole here. We'll see how it all plays out, but to counterpoint to what you just said, like, Sugar Ray Leonard fought on same cards as Hagler, and they try to build it
Yep.
up and so forth. It's different now. This, like,
Yeah.
like social media. This is why Ryan said I promoted myself really well, and I've done everything I could to get to this point. Like, if he shows up to Tank's fight, I don't know if he's going to. I could probably ask his team and see if he's going to be there. that one honestly might just suffice rather than him getting in the ring. If he, the minute the fight's over with Tank on January 7th and he wins, and there's some type of announcement for the fight, that can drum up interest too. I'm looking at that from the business standpoint. I'm looking at it as, it's just one less obstacle. You're obviously looking at it as a fighter. You're looking
Yeah.
at it through that prism, which is why you're great at what you do. It's like, yes, getting this guy back in the ring. He fought twice in 2022. He fought in April, and then he fought in July, which I love because that's a quick turnaround. I thought he should have fought maybe one time at the end of this year with December, but he got into the discussions with Tank to make this fight. So I thought maybe he could make up some time by fighting in January and getting that over with and staying sharp. But two of his last three opponents were southpaws. These are all reasons for why Ryan Garcia. This is what he told the Chris Mannix. I fought twice in 2022. Two of my last three opponents were southpaws, and who absolutely hates it, who came out and just was like, "This is a huge mistake. This is a massive mistake." Oscar De La Hoya said, "This is bad. This is bad." This is not the move. We did not tell him to do this. And maybe that's Oscar talking like a promoter, and he wants that another 10,000 at Staples Center or whatever they're calling it these days, and wants that piece of the pie. But I'm sure he wants his guy to win too. What would you make of Oscar saying this was a good move?
Oscar's a promoter, but Oscar's still a fighter. Oscar still thinks he's a fighter. He wants to fight. He paints that every couple of years or a couple months rather. So he's old school, man. He's used to these kind of buildups and fighting, and he had done it tons of times. Fighting in the undercards of guys he's going to fight next, fighting on the same card together. Taking another fight. It's just, I don't know. It's just it's part of old school promoting, which I understand what you're saying too. This ain't old school anymore. We got social media. Ryan Garcia is not a world champion. He hasn't been in a world title fight. He has gotten to where he's at based on his own marketing. Just like he said, I've marketed myself very well. He is absolutely right. He has been a genius when it came to that side of it. He's made a lot of money for a guy who's never fought for a world title. And that's talking about, that goes to what he has done with his career and the way that he's been able to move himself. So yeah, I think he's taking it as a businessman approach, not a fighter's approach.
So let me play devil's advocate here. I got a fighter right here. I'm talking to a fighter. So he goes through this with this guest fight, and guest that doesn't give him any type of pushback. It's just a glorified sparring session. Does that really help, or could he get good sparring? Can he just stay focused on Tank, like he said, doesn't blow up in weight, doesn't go off the rails, doesn't lives a clean, healthy lifestyle from now until he gets into camp? What, like March, early March, or late February for an April 16th date? Like, going through a fight with Gesson, does that really help you? And a guy that's not going to really give you that solid back and forth action that he would need for Tank?
Yes, because of a camp. It's not just going through a fight, it's going through a camp. In camps you learn. It's not just about making weight and getting shape. You learn, you progress, you find out things about yourself, you get to work with your team. The longer you're out of camp, the more time it takes to get into camp, or camp mentality. So having that camp, even if it's against a guy like Jester, that he really, I think you agree with me, he should walk through. He should bust him up. Ryan's an extremely talented guy. He's one of the most. I've always said he's one of the most physically gifted of that 135-pound group. So for him, and also he's a timing fighter too. He's got great timing to go at that speed. Timing takes work, and it takes fights, and it takes action. So I like the idea of having another camp with your team to work on things that are going to work for the rest of your career. Also, you get in there with a guy, and you get to practice your timing. Even if it's someone who really can't. Or, well, listen, everybody can fight, everybody can hurt you, but someone who you should beat, you're going to get that timing, and he's going to need that timing when he fights Tank.
Yeah, it could be like you see in baseball. It's like before the playoffs start, or after the Yankees sweep one round, and they have like 6 or 7 days off to their next game, and they do a scrimmage. They try to replicate like a game, but you can't replicate like that feeling. That I think also helps too. The whole going through a process of fighting. It's different with the whole arena full, right?
Yeah, fight week, making weight, walk into that ring, and that walk is hard no matter what. Walk into a ring does things to you. Going into a ring does things to you. Being in a fight, it could be a 1-round blowout. Doesn't matter. It has an effect on the fighter, and a long lasting effect. That's why we all do it. We love this shit. Fighting there's like nothing like fighting.
Yeah.
But I do believe that camps matter, training matters, and timing matters, and those are the things that Paulie Malignaggi, one of the greatest commentators out there, and a hell of a fighter, 2-time world champion guy that I talk with pretty regularly. He's big on timing, and for him, he always wanted to spar. He wanted to spar tough guys because he needed timing. And fight timing is different than sparring time. It's like it's game pace. It's a different level, different speed. And I don't know. I always like to be busy. I wasn't able to be busy a lot of my career, but it wasn't because I didn't want to fight. It was because of the outside things that happen in a career. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing from a young guy to forego a tune-up fight, quote unquote, for a money fight. You see that with older guys because they want to get hurt. Training camps are hard. A guy like me, training camps are hard. I might push it off because, my elbow or my shoulder, but, Ryan's young and fresh.
Well, it's funny because fans hate tune-up fights, and he did mention that too on one of his tweets. It's like boxing doesn't need any more tune-ups. Understand that, but it's funny how the boxing fans, it's like, first, I can't believe Tank is taking a tune-up. Now I can't believe Ryan Garcia is not taking one. It's interesting. Just get me to April. Get me to April, whatever, 16th. We'll all be in Vegas for a big fight, and we'll see how it affects him. Tank is going in with sharp. Ryan Garcia, and you got Joe Goosen too. I would love to hear what Goosen's thoughts on this. Whether would he I know he won't say anything. He won't be as outward as Oscar was. But he's got his work cut out for him. Joe Goosen will have to bring a lot of people into that San Diego gym and mimic a fight night atmosphere.
Yeah, and I'm a fan as well, and we always talk about that. I don't like tune-up fights either. No fans do. But remember when Canelo was busy and he fought 4 times in a year?
Yeah.
Against guys that Yildirim? Like, who cared? I don't care. Because Canelo fighting. Like, we had the guy busy. He at the same time, he had 4 fights in that year. He had 2 tough ones and 2 easier ones. But, like, I don't care. He was busy. It's good to be busy. It's good to be in the in the spotlight. It's good for fans to see you, even if they don't love the matchup. If you fight more often, it's what have you done for me lately? So I don't know. I like to see these guys busy. I like to see people in the ring.
Yeah, I think Ryan Garcia is going to come on our show. I talked to his team, and
awesome.
I think the first show of 2023, we're going to get Ryan Garcia on. We'll ask him what he thinks, and we'll I'm sure he's going to be asked a lot about it, and we'll get his thoughts on it. That should be a good start off the year with a bang. Talking to Ryan Garcia. Unfortunately, we